So it's not a question of if you're going to get on the prepping bandwagon. Ladies and gentlemen, eventually you will. So I would recommend that you do it now. Hello YouTubers, Alaska Prepper here. Happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much to all of you that joined in on yesterday's surprise live stream. I have a meats and potatoes video of yesterday's live stream, so if you did not have the time to dedicate an hour plus of your day to that live stream, I'm putting out a meats and potatoes video of that live stream that's about 25 minutes or so. So if you haven't watched it, that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. Dairy and fresh produce prices expected to soar as Canada's inflation rates hit 30-year high. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this may be a Canadian story, but this is the same story that we are all facing. And let me tell you what, if you think that prices have hit a climax as far as inflation, then you have something else coming, because it hasn't even started. Prices will continue to rise. And let me show you what they're blaming it on. People that are not willing to submit to government are to blame for this crisis that's going on now with the trucker shortage. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because it's got to be your fault. I remember speaking about this here not too long ago, that there will come a day when the government itself will be blaming those people that did not want to submit to its draconian laws, rules, mandates, whatever you want to call it. And the day has come. They will start to villainize and they will start to blame everything that's going on people that want to be free. If you thought that your outrageous grocery bill couldn't get much higher, 2022 will be a rude awakening. A leading food analyst says to expect an increase in food prices. Imagine that, ladies and gentlemen. A leading food analyst says to expect an increase in food prices. Well, isn't that what we have been experiencing for the last year plus? With dairy and fresh produce seeing the biggest price jump, a record inflation hits the country. Statistics Canada's Consumer Price Index in December went up 4.8%. Well, at least it's a little lower than here in the U.S. compared to last year, putting the annual inflation rate at its highest in 3 decades. The impact the increasing pace of inflation will have on food prices will be significant, with overall prices expected to rise between 5 to 7% by year's end. This variant has completely paralyzed the food economy, and that's why we're seeing bare shelves, he said. We're expecting some stores to temporarily close in parts of the country. In my opinion, we will eventually have store closures for a couple of reasons. One, because they will not be able to keep up with inflation. These are going to be smaller stores, right? Smaller supermarkets, maybe mom and pop shops. But another one, eventually, I believe that the government will step in to subsidize prices and to put in price controls. Once the government starts to put in price controls, ladies and gentlemen, things will get a lot worse. They will spin it that they're doing it for the working man. They're doing it for the working family, for the average family that needs to put 3 squares on their table. But ladies and gentlemen, that will be the beginning of the end once they institute price controls. Look at Venezuela, and there's your answer. With empty shelves increasingly becoming the norm, an even greater rise in food prices is on the horizon, he said. Blame it on supply chain issues, mandates, truckers, even weather conditions. The cost of fresh vegetables is predicted to go up as much as 7%. Fruit prices will rise 5% and dairy 6%, with notable increases kicking in as soon as next month due to incoming price hikes by the Canadian Dairy Commission. And ladies and gentlemen, now throw this trucker thing in there, where truckers are quitting in droves because they don't want to adhere by the mandates of government. And remember now, a mandate is not a law. All right, do you understand this? A mandate is not a law. A law is passed by the people's voice, meaning that Congress passes a law. Each congressman is responsible to their constituents' desires, to their constituents' wishes. So a law is passed by Congress. Congress represents the people's voice. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a mandate is not a law. But they're using these mandates, in my opinion, to destroy the economy. To put you in a place where you have to decide whether you eat or whether you do not eat. And I'm not sure if you all know, but people are having a lot of problems also paying for their fuel bills. People are having to decide whether to pay for their heating bills or whether to eat. They're having to decide whether to keep their temperatures down at 55 degrees so that they can afford to buy some ramen noodles, or to not pay for their fuel bills at all. And it says here, some good news. Meat prices are predicted to stabilize after last year's drastic increase. Stabilize, but not go back down. You notice how they say here, stabilize, but not go back down? It's because they're never going back down, ladies and gentlemen. And what they mean by stabilize is that the increase in the rate of the inflation will slow down, but there will still continue to be inflation. It just won't be going up as fast as it was going before. In my opinion, inflation is here to stay for the near future, meaning for at least the rest of this year and the next couple of years after, ladies and gentlemen. We have borrowed too much from the future to be able to pay it back in a quick hurry. And now we are paying for all of those hours of labor that we borrowed from the future. We're paying for that now, and we will continue to pay for it. So prepare, all right? Prepare. Get those things now. Don't think that things are going to go back down. If you have a full pantry, that is great, because you can save money with a full pantry by buying those things that are only on sale when they go on sale, if they go on sale. Because remember that this year's sale prices are last year's regular prices, if you're lucky. StatCan reported that grocery prices continued to climb in December, rising 5.7% year over year, the latest annual increase since November of 2011. We are going to be breaking records of all sorts, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to inflation. Last I heard here in the U.S. is that our inflation was the worst that it's been for 40 years. Well, we're going to go ahead and probably bring it all the way back to the Great Depression. Even though during the Great Depression it was a deflationary depression, not an inflationary depression. But it didn't matter, because in a deflationary depression, meaning that there's not enough money in the system, if there's no money to buy stuff, then the cost of those things still take a lot more of your labor in order for you to procure. So it's kind of like the same thing in reverse, same outcome. You're going to end up paying more of your labor to get that pound of meat. This is how we have to look at it. It's not how many dollars it's costing. It's how much of your labor are you giving up in order to afford the same thing this year that you did last year. Prices for baked goods rose 4.7% year over year as drought during the summer months reduced what crops yield. Retail Strategist doesn't see prices going up to pre-health crisis levels anytime soon, and I would have to agree. They go on to say that up to 26,000 of 160,000 truckers who make regular cross-border trips will be sidelined, according to the Canadian Trucking Alliance, further impacting an already stressed supply chain. Obviously, your border's fluidity has been compromised by the mandate, she said, or he said. I'm not commenting on the mandate itself, but in the middle of January with this new variant and snowstorms, I'm not convinced it was the right time. Some empty shelves will be a result of what is going on at the border. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll go ahead and leave it in that. I'll go ahead and leave this article, the link to this article, all the way at the bottom of the description of this video if you want to come and revisit it. What's the point? You better get ready to pay more. If you're not stocking up now, and you end up stocking up later, because listen, ladies and gentlemen, eventually you will get on the prepping bandwagon. Whether you're watching this video or not, and you think I'm nuts for what I'm saying, eventually you will get on the prepping bandwagon. The question is, when will you get on the prepping bandwagon? Today? Or towards the end? Or when it actually happens, when we get hit with super inflation and you have to pay 10 times more for what you could have gotten today and stocked up on. So it's not a question of if you're going to get on the prepping bandwagon. Ladies and gentlemen, eventually you will. So I would recommend that you do it now. Make a plan, right? Anyone can prep. Anyone. Doesn't matter what socioeconomic level you're at. You can get prepared for the things that are coming. Because if you think that this is what we should have been prepping for, this is just practice, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but things are not going to get any better as far as prices go. They're only going to get more expensive. And if a catastrophe happens, be it in the financial markets, be it a natural catastrophe, it's going to be 10 times harder for you to prepare later on than it is right now. Having said that, thank you very much for joining in. Remember to be good to each other. When good people do good things happen. Remember to reach one, teach one, and repeat. If we all did this, the world would be a better place, and you know that it will be a better place. Many blessings to all of you and your families. I'm Alaska Prepper. I'm out.